The BC government says they are making major changes to disability assistance. Starting next month, couples where both people receive disability payments will receive the same allowance as if they were single. Then, starting next year, in couples where only one person has the Persons with Disabilities designation, they should get an increased annual earning exemption. But the way the payments are calculated is complicated, and we have two guests to address this with us today. Jessica Gordon is a person living with a disability, and we spoke with her about the spousal cap last year. Hello, Jessica, and welcome back to On the Coast.
Thank you very much.
Also with us is Spencer Van Vloten, a longtime community advocate and the editor of bcdisability.com. Spencer, good afternoon to you.
Gloria, nice to be here.
Now, Jessica, let's circle back with you, and I'm glad you were able to join us again today. What exactly do these new changes, what do they mean to disability payments?
It amounts to not very much. The wording when it comes to disability assistance is a little bit confusing. Disability assistance is broken down into two parts. There's your support allowance and your shelter allowance. Shelter allowance being for your shelter, like your rent or whatnot. But support allowance kind of sounds like what you would call the entire disability payment. So that's the only things that is changing for two people that are both on disability.
Okay,
The
but
shelter allowance stays the same.
Well, how do you feel about the changes?
So mad. Mad because of how they're presenting this. They're presenting it as though they ended spousal clawbacks, when really they just made a minute change. Like for the situation I just described with two people on disability assistance, it amounts to $113.50, I think, per month more that they'll be getting between the two of them. That's hardly ending the the clawback. They're still $305 short of what they would get if they were two individual people living separately.
$113 more for two people. That's between two people.
$56.75 per person.
Okay. Now, Spencer, what went through your mind when you heard about these changes?
Appointment, because these changes were, but the promise to remove the spousal clawbacks was promised over a year ago. They had mostly been silent since that time, and there's a lot of people were hopeful that they were working on it and something very beneficial would be coming. But these changes, they first of all, as Jessica mentioned, they're very limited in what they change, and also very limited in who they impact. I mean, it's good that there's some improvement for couples that are both on PWD, but the vast majority of people who are impacted by these spousal clawbacks will not have any benefit from this at all. Most of them will still be either unable to get assistance in the first place, or they'll have to be hiding their relationships, or not moving in as a couple. And so it's one of those situations where, okay, they took sort of half a step forward, but we need a mile to go. So it's disappointing, and I think it's very misleading and not entirely accurate for the government to come out and claim that they've delivered on the commitment they made last year.
Okay, well, let's hear more about that from you, Jessica. Misleading, says Spencer. There certainly has been some confusion around these changes. What would you like to clarify in response to some messaging and misinformation out there?
Yeah, a lot of it does come down to that shelter allowance and support allowance thing, because most people don't understand the ins and outs of the specifics in disability assistance, and they're just going to hear shelter or support allowance, and they're going to think that's what people on disability get per month, a support payment or what have you. So there's all sorts of news articles coming out right now saying that they have ended the spousal clawbacks, they've eliminated wording like that. because they're using their own words to interpret what they've seen in this news release. But the news release was very carefully worded so that it doesn't really describe exactly. A lot of people did go in and look at the math at the bottom of the news release and go, that doesn't add up to if you doubled the amount for a single person. But most people aren't going to make it that far reading a news release. They're just going to read, the first paragraph, the headline, stuff like that. And they're not going to understand how little of an impact this is. And the other thing that they did was they increased the annual earnings exemption for couples where only one has the PWD designation. But it's 24,800 will be the new exemption limit. So that's the amount of money that a couple can earn collectively between both of them before the person with disabilities payments are clawed back.
Okay. Now, Spencer, what does all this mean? I mean, what are some of the ways that people are affected by these spousal caps and just the way disability payments are calculated?
Well, just to give perspective, basically, if someone with a disability has a partner who makes basically a minimum wage income, that will be considered too much for them to keep their eligibility for and their full payment for their disability assistance. So, in the government's eyes, the person who could make as little as minimum wage is supposed to be a financial caretaker for the person with the disability. So, what this means, because the policy changes did not remove that spousal clawback, you're still going to have thousands of people throughout the province who aren't getting the disability assistance that they need, or you're going to be having people who are currently on disability assistance who have to continue hiding their relationships, not moving in with a partner, trying to keep it, secret on the down low because they don't want that money that they desperately need clawed back. Another dynamic is that people with people who choose to enter relationships and decide to forego disability assistance because the spousal cap makes them ineligible, well, then because they're now financially dependent on their partner, there's been situations where those relationships have turned sour and the partner has been abusive, and because the person has no income of their own, they don't get any financial assistance. They're really totally dependent on this person financially, and they have to stay in a relationship as a result. And it's just so out of touch with the economic realities facing people these days that in BC, two-person incomes are really needed to stay afloat, and these changes really still don't allow many people with disabilities to live that to get those two incomes.
Now, Jessica, maybe I hear from each of you. Just what would you like to see happen next? Jessica, we'll start with you.
I would like to see. Honestly, I would like to see Sheila Malcolmson confronted about this and see what she has to say about why she made these decisions versus actually ending the spousal cap and the spousal clawbacks. Ideally, I would like that to happen, that people with disabilities can be in a relationship, enter a relationship. Their relationship should not matter at all in regard to their disability assistance. It's just so far from how the world works now. It's so outdated. A lot of people lived on single income housing in like the 50s, but nowadays you can't really do that.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Spencer, you've heard Jessica. She says we've got to confront the minister and put this to her. What would you like to see happen next?
Absolutely. I want to see government stand up and be bold, and instead of taking, this half step forward, take those necessary steps forward to deliver the changes that people with disabilities need. And those changes are, can the spousal cap so that people with disabilities, whether, it's two people with disabilities or one partner has it and the other doesn't, but so they can both have an income, increase the assistance rates so they're not like $10,000 a year below the poverty line, because people with disabilities disproportionately live in poverty in BC, and it prevents them from, being able to accomplish their dreams, being able to live in good health, and so many other things.
Jessica Gordon is a person living with a disability, and we were talking to her about the spousal cap last year. Spencer Van Vloten is a longtime community advocate and the editor of bcdisability.com.